Right. Okay, guided activity 7.1 on page 171. We're going to open the calculate list box value sum underscore p project in the 07 list box sum folder. So you'll go to your data files, which you all should have on your H drive already, and chapter 7. And it's list box sum, is it? Yes, list box sum folder. $12,0821. List box sum folder. We'll open the program in there. Okay. Now we have a couple of components here. Thank you. We have a button, calculate sum. We have a list, LST dat, which probably stands for list data. Then we have mem display. Do we have any given code? Nope. No code is given to us. So we will now go and see what they want us to do. We're going to add code to store 5 randomly generated integers from 0 to 99 in the list box in the on-click event for calculate sum. Right, so let's go to our on-click event here. This calculate sum, we just double-click the button, and it's got to be random numbers, and we're going to use a for loop, so we need a k integer for loop counter. By the way, you can have any variable here, ik or inum, or for your for loop counter, but just for habit, it's nice to keep to one thing, because then you know when you're looking at your code, yeah, that k is the for loop counter variable. So I'm now going to move on to the real instruction, 5. So we're going to add, that is the code already given to you. They use random, we're going to use random range. Excuse me, please be quiet. Am I going too fast? The chapter 7 folder. I'm moving on. Now, we have to fill the list box with things. If you are lost at any point in time, if you just watch the lesson, you will learn a lot. You'll find that when you get to more difficult stuff later on in grade 10 and 11. If you get behind, you have to watch. Because the whole class can't be kept behind for a few that are not, or doing other things and then basically not paying attention. And then they decide that they have to catch up quickly. No. LSDAT is the name of a list box. We say dot items dot add and then open brackets. In brackets here, we are going to put in the thing we want. Now the list box, it looks like it works like a combo box. A list box and combo box, the same code, people. You have item index. When you want to put something, it's .items.add. And even with a radio group box, you'll have .items.add. Thank you, pay attention. In the brackets here, it has to be a string. But we want to put a random number, don't we? In fact, we're going to use random range. And it's going to be a number from which number to what number? 0 to 99. So in our random range, we have to put in a 0, comma 100. Remember, random range is a function. Yes, we need maths as well. But random range is a function that has two parameters. The first parameter is the start value of the number you want. Second parameter is adding 1 to the highest value of the number that you want. So this will give you a range from 0 to 99. Random range is underlined in red, so that means we have to include the math unit over here at the top. And we're used to doing that now, hey? We're used to including the math unit at the top. But list dat.items.add in brackets, this must be a string, but what have we got there? An integer. It doesn't give us an error message or nothing. It'll only give us an error message when you run the code. And we call that runtime errors. There's no syntax errors here. But because this has not been converted to a string, when you run your program, you'll get a runtime error. Note the difference between syntax error if you spell something wrong and runtime errors if you cannot see what the spelling mistake is, but there's an error there because that is supposed to be a string. So what we're going to do, int to string. Inside those brackets, we're going to add more brackets to the whole mess. So here we have brackets again. You've got to wrap up, match your brackets. This is the tricky part, getting your brackets to match up. A lot of brackets. It's one of the tricks of programming. You've got to make sure your brackets are matched up and your begins and ends are matched up. Why do I not have begin and end after this for loop? It's because we're only doing one thing. The for loop is only doing one thing. This end here is part of my btn calculate sum click event or procedure. There's only one thing being done in this for loop, that's why there's no begin and end, okay? Now we're going to move on to the next thing. You can run your program and make sure it works. Okay, let's say we have got to set isum to 0 after that. So what's isum? Yeah, but is it going to be global or local? That's the question. We don't know. Oh, it's because we're setting it to 0. Well, one would think that it's local, hey? Because we're setting it to 0 in the calculate sum button, then I guess we can declare it local, we can change it to global if we think that it needs to be global. So make another variable called isum, set isum equal to 0, leave a line after that for loop because you don't want to confuse yourself. Sometimes people forget that they're supposed to put begin and end around our items of our for loop. You can put begin here and end afterwards. Excuse me, I'm talking. Thank you. You can put begin end here if you want. It's not going to be a problem. You can still do it even if there's only one thing, but I'm just telling you that it's optional. So if you ever see code with just one line after a for loop or any other kind of loop or if statement, then you know that is only doing one thing. So look out for that. You can make logical errors with that. Right, we're going to move on to what else we have to do. Read an item from list data one at a time. Okay, fine. So we're adding the things to the list box in the same button click. Then we set a sum to 0, and then we're going to put this code in here. We're going to add, each one of those items is going to be added to each other. Okay, So that means, how do we go through a list box? But let's first run the program, see what it looks like. Calculate sum. Okay, there's the numbers. Okay, cool. 5 numbers. We've got to add those numbers up now. Well, the calculate sum button is going to do it at the same time. And then it's going to calculate the sum. But we're going to use a for loop. Now, the for loop is going to go from list item box, what does our list box look like? If you go, click on your list box, go to the left-hand side of your screen. If you ever forget this, you can do this. And you have item index. Find item index property. You actually don't have an item index. You only have items, but there is an item index property there for the list box. And we're going to basically, okay, fine. The list box is not using an item index, it's like an array, which is rather confusing. Because the item index is a combo box, list box, not so much. We have to have another for loop. Now, can we use the same for loop counter if we're going to use another for loop? Yes, we can. Okay, don't worry. Quiet. I want to ask you a question. What is the value of k after this for loop is finished? No, at the end of the loop, what do you think k is going to be? What did you say, Paul? Yeah. Yes, brilliant job. Yes, k is now going to be equal to 6. After the loop is finished, you know that k is going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then, when it comes out of here, k is going to be 6. Now, excuse me, it doesn't matter what k is if we're going to use our for loop again. For k equals 1, 2. And then they put the code in there that we are using the count, the list values dot count property. LSD dat dot count. Pardon? Okay, but if we go to from 1 to list dat dot count, we are not going to have, well, let's think about it. The items in the list box are numbered from 0. 0, the first one is 0, the second one is 1, third one is 2, and so on. If we count, we should actually have a, let's go and check that value. We can actually go and display it. Guys, everybody do this. We're going to show a message because we want to see exactly what count gives us. Show a message into string list dat dot count. Type this in, run the program, let's see what actually happens. What number do we see? This is how you can test your program for any problems. What number does it give us? Right, let's go run it and see. So yes, there are 5 items, okay, good, but we want to go through each one. I'm actually going to use 0 to list dat dot count minus 1. They give us the code that, because we know we start numbering from 1, don't we? So it's 0 to list values dot count. So if it's 5, and we know we start numbering at 0, so we've got to go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. We want to go 0 to 4, not 1 to 5. We have to go from 0 to 4 and not 1 to 5. Because we know that we have 5 items in there. So dot count is going to be the number 5. So 5 minus 1 will give us 4. And because our list box item starts at 0, That is why we're going to start K. We want to access each item in our list dot items. We must remember that the list box contains strings. And that's another scary part. We have to remember, our brains have to be so sharp, remembering all these little things. The list box contains strings. We need our isum equal to 0 over here, and we're going to have a running sum of each item in the list box. But that list box, lst dat dot items square brackets k, that is a string. Okay, in our thing they used R count as the for loop counter, but I'm using K as a for loop counter, and I can use it again because the for loop starts from 0, okay? Even though it was 6 after the last for loop, the second for loop it uses, it's going to start from 0. We've stipulated there's 0. But, okay, we haven't finished, but to wrap up, we still got time, yes? Okay, I will close the window a little bit. This list, thank you for telling me, this list, dat dot items, we have to convert to a integer. Guys, convert string to int. That whole thing. And then we're going to display the sum somewhere. Excuse the pun. Where are we going to display the sum? Where will we display the sum? In the memo. Okay, we'll put it in the memo for now. Mem display. And the next lesson we'll finish this. Dot lines dot add int to string isum. So get this code in, run your program, and see what it gives you. And we'll see you the next time, tomorrow.